start. I'm Joel Chavez. I'm with the Department of Environmental Quality. Bob Wintergurst with the Forest Service. Carol Johnson with Ranger here in Superior. She's our host tonight. And this is Allie Archer with the EPA out of Helena office. And so I'm here to talk about what we're planning on doing just up the creek here, Black Creek, and what's called OU2. It's pretty casual, so if you got any questions, ask them anytime you want, and we'll do our best to answer them. I brought some slides to kind of go over what we got in mind. I put this together a couple weeks ago. It's not quite July, but it was pretty close, so we'll just go with that. So there's just some contact information. There's me. There's our public information officer, DEQ. Allie, her public information officer. Bob, Tim Reed with Mineral County. Tim's right here. Nita with the TAG group. I don't think she's here tonight. I think she was going to be in something else. Steve Ackerland is their consultant. I talked with him today, but he won't be here. And Tim Ramp with Pioneer Technical Services. He's the engineer of record, so they're the engineering firm that put this together, but they're not here either. So basically, here's Black Creek. We're right here. So what we're talking about is basically from the old mill in Hull Gulch, pretty much down to right here, which is just above the water tank. Most of the property is owned by, used to be owned by Sarco, and it's now owned by Montana Environmental Trust. And then right below that, there is some of this is on the U.S. Forest Service, and there are some contaminants on the forest ground that we're planning on taking in cooperation with the Forest Service.
Right. We have there's a massive deposit of tails, and the reason we're going with this joint venture with the state is because it makes more sense to do it in one contract, because it's a massive, standard construction contract. The other tails, we looked at start removal after this project is done, and it'll be there's smaller discrete tails. They're in the neighborhood of 3 up to 30 cubic yards, so it makes more sense to apply that by having a smaller contractor come in and deal with those.
Sure enough. Oh, here's just some old,
Joel?
yeah,
Did you go back to the previous one?
I can.
What's the blue in Seacrest?
Oh, I think the blue is, it's just denotes the boundary of the Montana Environmental Trust Group, private property, and the U.S. Forest Service.
And this is up the drawaways.
Up here?
No. Right
Side,
To the right.
You're to your right,
And
This.
off to the side.
the light blue.
Oh,
That's just some writing.
it's a name. You can't read
It's
it.
the Gulch.
It's the Gulch down. Here's just some old slides of the Iron Mountain mine. The mine itself was up quite a ways from the mill. It was actually quite a mine. There's 22 levels on it, and those levels were 100 feet apart. So it went 2,200 feet down from the surface. That's pretty big working, actually.
2,000 feet.
What's that?
He said 2,000 feet.
2,200 feet. 22 levels.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Pretty much. So what they mined there was 2 veins. They're very discrete veins. They're basically no alteration in the wall rock, no dissemination of the mineral. The veins were probably 2 to 4 feet thick. These guys, they went into the mountain like that, pretty much mountains like that, they were right into it. These guys took the veins and they didn't take anything else. They took every bit of the vein. I climbed around there. I cannot find any mineralized rock. So they just pretty much mined the veins, and they probably pretty much mined them out. I put together some underground maps, and it looks like they went and got the veins, and they went out from them, and they were drifting along trying to find some more veins that didn't outcrop on the surface, and I don't think they ever found any. So But there was quite a town up there at one time. I even had a railroad. And here is what's, this picture of the mill. What's left up there now at Hogos is simply a foundation, not very much. You can see this picture here. There was a tramway that originally ran down from the mine, and they trammed the mineral from they had a bunch of towers up and down the hill. That went in 1908. There was a picture of the mill. Nothing there now. In 1908, they didn't have any. There was only one entry or exit way into the mine, so they had to put had to make another entryway into the mine, and that's located. What's left of it is located right above the mill. It's collapsed. There's water flowing out of it. It was a 6,000 foot cut over to the workings, and it intersected the mine workings 1,600 feet down from the surface by 1908, and to me that indicates that they probably were down that far in the mine, so when they put this haulage way in, they went to where it do them the most good. So that is still there. I would imagine it's collapsed in several places. It does have some water coming out of it. That water seems to, we looked at it this spring, Ally and I did. It seems to be, corresponds with the snow melt, flows go up, start to dry out. I was just up there a few minutes ago. There's some water coming out of it, but not much. So it's not retaining a lot of water. Seems to be flowing through it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you ever test the water?
What's that?
Did you test the water?
Oh, yeah.
For heavy metals?
Oh yeah, it's not very good water at all. It's actually got quite a lot of antimony and arsenic in it. It's not good water at all.
And where is that flowing to?
What's that?
Where does it flow to from out of the?
It just percolates into the ground,
Into the
so
ground.
it's going into the ground.
Right.
But that water quality is not good
Okay.
at all. And we can talk about, we'll get to it, but treating water is really it's very difficult and it's very expensive, and I'll show you where the money is on this, and it's just not there for that. But that water is not good. Here's another picture. That if you go up there, that portal where that haulage way is completely collapsed, and there's just some water running out of it now. There's virtually nothing left of it, but it's still there. Oh, here's some old production records. This was a lead and zinc mine. This is recorded production, so it's probably kind of close, but 7 million pounds of zinc, 5 million pounds of lead, 5,000 pounds of copper, not very much, silver even less, and virtually no gold to speak of. These types of ore deposits are very similar to the ones over the hill in the Coeur d'Alene district. Coeur d'Alene type veins. They don't carry much gold. They usually carry more silver. This one didn't, but it certainly has all the other markings with tremendous zinc and lead load. Is what it was. So here's why we're here, and it has to do with the Sarco bankruptcy settlement. The Sarco, American Smelting and Refining, very active in Idaho, Montana, and throughout the West United States for a long time. Interests all over the world. Several years ago, 10 or 15, the Sarco was purchased by a firm called Grupo Mexico, which was an international mining firm. And what they did is they took basically the assets from the Sarco, and they left the Sarco as a company that fully owned by them, but the only assets it had were its liabilities. So they basically gutted the company of assets and left the liabilities, hoping they could walk away from their liabilities. The state and the Forest Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service filed a suit against them, and it ended up in a bankruptcy settlement in Texas. And as part of the settlement, a couple things happened. First of all, a trust was formed, a bankruptcy trust, to deal with these properties. This is one of them. They have in Montana and other places. And the trust got some money. The Department of Environmental Quality got some money. Forest Service got some money. And that's where the money for this settlement is coming from. It's not from tax dollars, it's a settlement money. This money is available for this action, and this action only. That's all it can be used for. Right now, what we've got, I have got from the trust, have coughed up, they have given us control, Department of Environmental Control, of $1.751 million. We have that now. The DEQ, we have $1.76 million. The Forest Service has $500,000, but what the Forest Service is going to certainly pay their share of this action. We worked it out with Bob, and they will contribute up to $425,000. But if it doesn't come to that, they'll contribute what their basically what their fair share is. And we've got we came to good terms on that. It's a fair deal all the way around. So up to $425,000 is what they will contribute. And so we have some current obligations, which are design work that we've been doing since April 1st is when we came up here to start this work. And so right now we have total available 3.5 million to do this work. That's it. That's a lot of money, but in this game, that's not a lot of money. And we've got oversight costs, our costs. Certainly the construction contract will be the vast majority of it, but that really is the money we have available. So we're going to put it out to bid and hope we can, come in somewhat less than that. I'd like to have this signed contract with about, I'd like to sign contract and $500,000 to spare in my comfort zone. I don't think I'm going to get that, but I think we'll get it if we get it out to bid right now. And we're going to do that. The construction costs are going up. They're starting to move right now and not going down. So if we come up short, I got a couple places. I can talk to the trust. They have a little money. I think I can get them to cough it up. Maybe I can get the DEQ to cough up a little bit somewhere, but that's really what we got. And there's not a whole bunch laying around anywhere else. Just to break things down, as you guys live here, Aqua Unit 1 is the town, and EPA came in and removed material from town. They put it up in Wood Gulch in a repository. And that's the same repository that we are going to add on to. So all the material will be in one place. It's got plenty of room. This work was done in 2013, about 30,000 yards. We're going to leave EPA some room in case there is some more in town that has to come up there at some point.
Right.
We don't know of any, but that's part of the deal.
There's also a commitment to the community if they through utility works or something like that, come into, contaminated material, that there'll be room left in that repository.
Sure enough. So
Do you have any idea how much material is going to have to be removed up there?
up the creek, 90,000 yards. So we've been up there since pretty much. We showed up basically pretty much on the 1st of April and started carrying around up there, characterizing. There's been a lot of work on and off by the Forest Service, by DEQ, up the creek, but it never really got pinned down into how much exactly, where are the boundaries exactly, things like that. So we've been up there and we're right about at 9,000 yards right now. Earlier estimates were less than that. They always are. They never get smaller, they always get bigger. It got bigger, but we found the extent. So we went there was an ECA down on this in January. We came up here in January, and we went through the alternatives, and there was a lot of them, but there were really only two. You could leave it there and do nothing, or you take it all out of there. So we're going to take it all out of there. But like I said, we got about 9,000 cubic yards. We're pretty confident that is the figure. We've been out there with hand shovels and GPSs and quite a lot. So we've got basically a design done right now. Yeah, like I say, a lot of characterization. Quite a jungle up there, actually. And this is just an example. These are taken in the fall, but you go up there, it's pretty obvious. Tailings are kind of brown in color. And a lot of places, I've worked, there's visible tailings, and then there's the stuff that's leached into everything else that isn't visible. And Black Creek, if it's brown, it's pretty much tailings. We don't see a lot of leaching of metals into the underlying native soils. I'll get to it, but it's really basically in a matter of inches, so that's a good thing. And as much of a jungle as that place is, there's still some places that don't have any vegetation on it. That the contaminants. And when you go up there towards the old mill, part of the road is actually brown. It's all made out of tailings. Too, it looks like, we know there was a bunch of impoundments in the creek that were used in the old days to impound these tailings. They broke and it's flooded, so they're all up and down the drainage. There's just some test pits and pretty clear. Tailings to there. There's pretty much the native soil. So you can see what it is. The thickness a few inches to about 3 or 4 feet in places. Once again, a little thick in there. And there's the stream, and I guess one thing about this, we're not planning on doing anything with the stream itself. The flows in there pretty much flushed anything out. It's the banks of the stream. There's nothing to be done with the stream, which is good. We don't really afford to do anything anyway. But the stream is pretty much free of contaminants. It's again a good slide showing there's one of the thicker deposits. Oh yeah, and this is coming out that haulage way where the water is flowing right now. You can see it's all iron stained. This flow is probably a spring or fall photos of snow here. Pretty high there. I was up there before I came down here this evening. There's a little water trickling out of there. But we won't be doing anything with that corridor. Oh yeah, values. This is idea not to read this slide so much as to see that the antimony, arsenic, lead, and zinc values isn't part from it. They're in thousands and tens of thousands. This is certainly not background levels. I think I have some background stuff. We did take some samples out of the rock up here, it's in the Wallace Formation, just to get an idea what background is on mineralized background. Arsenic 11, cadmium less than 1 part per million, copper less than 18, lead less than 60, antimony less than 5, and zinc at 108. And these are in tens of thousands. This zinc here is 440. Actually, I got a sample of 880,000. A lot of zinc up there, but they're certainly they certainly exceed they're certainly over any kind of criteria for human health and safety. They're really pretty high numbers, especially the arsenic and cadmium numbers, which aren't here, but both of those are carcinogens. Lead is not a carcinogen, but it's not very good for kids. In fact, it's really bad for kids, and those are really bad levels.
Now, you're gonna be cleaning up there at the mine site also?
What's that?
You're gonna be cleaning up there at the mine site also?
There is no contamination to speak of at the mine site up on the hill.
Okay.
The waste rock doesn't have
Yeah.
any mineralization to speak of in it. Most of it was just the two veins they mined out, and they took it all down to the mill. So up at the mine proper, there really is nothing up there.
Okay, what do you intend to do with, about the walk that is still coming out of that?
The rock at the mine,
What's that?
I didn't hear.
Out of the portal?
Yes.
Yeah. The water, nothing at this point in time.
We do not have the funds, and with collapsed portals like that, you just don't know what you're getting into when you tie into
Oh, I
it.
don't want you to correct that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's, I mean, just to be euphemistic, it's a black hole. It doesn't stop sucking money away.
Yeah.
You know, it just, you don't want to go there unless you have to. This is just a pretty typical section of the creek, just a sort of level of characterization that we've done in there to find out where this material is. As one suspects, Black Creek, pretty narrow, so it's right next to the creek, and that's pretty much it. And again, and this one just happens, this is a wood belch repository, so this is where the EPA put the stuff from town. That property is currently owned now by DEQ, and we're just going to, we're going to add to this, and we're going to tie it into this hill, and basically, you won't even know it's there. So, we went up and we dug some more test bits and made sure it was good to go, but that's where it's going, so at least it will basically stay, and it'll be with the other material that left town.
When you say you dug test pits and so it's good to go, what's that mean?
Oh, we just made sure that the ground was stable and there's nothing leaching into it.
Or
And-
you didn't encounter groundwater.
Yeah.
So where that is, all those tailings are just staying there and they're not going into the groundwater, they're not going
That's-
anywhere, is that what
That's
I'm
correct,
understanding you to say?
yeah. So we'll cap it, we'll seal it, we'll cap it, we'll vegetate the cap, and we'll maintain the cap. But the way we're putting it in there, it's not gonna be prone to any kind of natural erosion. So they're basically leaving a dynamic system which is next to the creek, and up there, it's more static, just a static environment.
So the reason to move it from the creek and from the road is because those are leaching,
They are.
I'm asking.
They'll wash down in the creek and the metals are immobilized, yeah. So up there, we'll cover it, we'll compact it, we'll cover it, and it's just not prone to move. Again, pretty much the same thing. Showing the extent. And again, that's just a repository drawing, doesn't change a thing.
Could we go back one on the Forest Service?
Yeah.
Okay, just to point out, this is right up here is the Marietta claim up in this zone. This is what I call a massive tails deposit. That makes up 60% of the tails that are within Flat Creek that are on Forest Service administered land. And that's why we're going to go after those with the help, Joel's contractor. One thing, we made a commitment to the city. You have the old water infiltration gallery right in through here. Pipe goes on the east side of that, and then it crosses over onto the west side, and that pipe is laying on top of tails right now. So in order to remove that, we're going to have to deal with that pipe. And as I mentioned, we are committed to the community that maintain that infiltration system, as your emergency backup water system. What we're planning on doing is basically taking it and then taking a slice out of that pipe, bringing it under the stream channel, burying it under the stream channel, and then connecting it with the remainder of the pipe that's on the west side of the stream itself, and then turn it back on the water. Ma'am?
Is that gonna cause any problems for the Schultz's
No.
water flow that they?
No.
That's below us, isn't it?
Jim's intake is further up. You're talking about Jim's intake?
Yep.
No,
No,
Jim's
it's way up.
intake is way up and, off here and would be up here. No.
So isn't this what you're talking about, where it goes into the mountain and hits a mountain spring?
Yes, that right there is that infiltration gallery. And folks, correct me if I'm wrong, that system was operation until I believe it's 1990, thereabouts. And then it was determined that the antimony levels were sufficiently high that forced that to be shut down and go to another system. But my understanding is the emergency backup water system for the community, which we do not want to disturb that, and we want to maintain that system, in operation. So that's what we're somewhat challenged with, is the task to make sure that the water system is intact.
Bob, did I understand you to say that you're then gonna route the pipe under the creek and then back up?
Right now, the design is to bury it, it's on top, put a
Mhm.
45, bury it underneath the stream, armor over it, so, you don't get that wash, and then bring it back on elevation with the existing pipeline.
Sure.
And try to tie it in, where it ties in is right in that area right there.
Where does that water go to now?
The water goes towards the pump, or that facility next to the water tank, and right now it's being discharged directly back into.
Flatbed.
Flatbed, yes.
I think it's pretty typical. We have several thousand feet of stream bank that we'll be replacing. This is a typical, we'll pull the contaminated material back. We'll bring in clean fill that's coming from St. Regis, and we'll wrap that with some coconut matting. And that holds it together, that coconut
Excuse-
fabric.
This hasn't been bid yet. You're already bringing in bills from St. Regis?
Yeah.
And how did you arrive at that without bidding? Where you got
We
the material
did,
source?
we did bid it, it's less than, we got 3 informal bids, so we were able to do it because it was less than $50,000, so we did bid it, per se. Well, yeah, I did.
Are there any contaminants above the old mine
I would-
site? Above the old mine site on all those?
No, the mine site's pretty much on top of it, right on top of it.
So if you took this pipe and extended it up beyond the old mine site, would that not be pure water?
You're looking for.
Oh,
pure
way
water.
up there?
Okay, Let me explain. I
Yeah.
came on this project in 2002, and that was one of the first things that I was tasked to do a preliminary site investigation because of that fact of the water, having problems with that. As part of that site investigation, we did look further up past Hall Gulch onto Flat Creek, did drill some wells, and we did come into fresh water. We didn't do any characterization as to how much quantity of water that would produce, but we did encounter fresh water in that area.
Would it be cheaper to do that than reroute the existing pipe underground?
They don't own the water up there.
The reroute is just to preserve at this point in time. And I am working with various folks, including the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology, to kind of look at options in the future. But right now, the goal is just to get those tails out and preserve the water system as it is right now.
The electricity goes as far as our house.
Right.
And I've talked to Bob Hardebeck, and he says it's $25,000 a mile to put it in.
Right.
He was looking at putting it over to your house, that's where I got the figures.
He told me 500,000.
Well, that's the total, but he said it's 25,000 a mile. Then you have all the costs of the piping.
Correct.
From up there, then you also have to put in a year-round type road for maintenance. I mentioned this to Mike Woods, previous town, and he said we're not interested in that kind of an expense.
Correct. Yeah, we are just looking at options, for the future, whether it is up above. We did talk about treatment. That's, getting antimony out of the water is very expensive and operating the treatment system. But I understand your concern is, is there another way to let gravity be your friend and, bring the water down versus my understanding is pumping the water up from town, up to the tank to, pump it down. So that's, causing you a lot of cost in pumping to just upgrade.
I guess my thought was maybe the people in town would have to pay for water.
Sounds like they would have to for a long time. Sounds like they'd have to for a long time.
There would be the cost of installation, and it'd be amortized into your water bill,
Right.
and which would be more than it is today.
Right. And that's any option you have to take into account what it costs to get that water online and
So, we'll wrap some of these, this vegetation with this coconut matting. It looks like kind of burlap bags. We'll seed that to get it growing. That coconut fiber is gone in 5 years or less. It simply degrades. And the idea is to hold it together until vegetation gets going. We've used this stuff quite a lot. It works real good, so that's what we're planning on doing. With that. Oh, yeah, here's a bid sheet. Actually, I just not to read this. We're gonna dig up the tailings, we're gonna put them in a repository, we're gonna seed the place. That's what we're going to do, but as you can see, we got about 60 bid items, so there's quite a bit of detail to it. So, in a nutshell, we're gonna dig it up and, clean it out of there, but that's the details, and it's actually a fairly complex job. This one is actually very complex. So that's just an idea, just to kind of, give a clue. It says bid form 1, schedule 1. We just broke it into 2 schedules, and that's just for accounting purposes. The schedule 2 is U.S. Forest Service, and that's just so Bob and I can clearly work out the costs, so everybody knows who's paying for what. And there's schedule 2, that's U.S. Forest Service, and you can see there's about 20 items on that for 3,000 yards of tailings in one pile. That's kind of the complexity of what we're going to do.
like I said, that's 60% of what's on Forest Service land, so 3,000 yards.
So here is a schedule, more or less. This is gonna, maybe it's off by a week or so, but the idea basically is to get started, get this thing let. It'll probably get advertised on Thursday or Friday. We want to get it let. We want to get some guys in here to do some work this fall.
When is the pre-bid meeting?
It'll probably, I couldn't tell you right now, it will be in the advertisement probably in about 2 weeks. But it's part of the advertisement. We're trying to get that out right now. So.
That'll be in Missoulian or?
It will not. The state puts all their stuff now electronically, but you can call me and I can tell you how to get a hold of it. So yeah, they just changed that. So,
Okay.
but it's easy enough. Just call. I'll show you. You can get in to the system. It's called EMAX. I don't even know what that stands for, but it's all electronic. But call me. I'll make sure you can get in, and it'll have all the documents, all that information on the pre-bid conference, all the drawings, all the bid sheets, the whole sheet match. They don't have to you don't have to purchase a bid pack. It's all there. And if you want to bid it, the whole system's right there. But just give me a call. I'll show you how to get it. It's easy, but they just changed to it and it's kind of a pain the first time you do it, so. Anyway, we want to get this out, we want to get going. Hopefully, we'd like to work till, I'm hoping mid-October, late October here. But we want to do some things. We don't want to make a big mess and leave it in the winter. It's certainly not the issue, but I think it's important to get this bid right now. I'm seeing prices going up for a lot of reasons. I know some of them. But we want to get this locked in. We want to get some things going. And the idea is to come back in the spring when we can and do the majority of the work. Yeah.
So when you say the bid,
Yeah.
what all are they bidding on?
Pretty much the
You know, he just
entire
went out very-
job.
So what about the dirt and stuff that you said that will be the?
The only thing
stuff?
that's not in this bid package, I went out and I got, since it's pretty much no money, $35,000. I went out, as I can do, and for anything less than $50,000, I can solicit 3 informal bids, and I can purchase that material since it's less than $50,000, and that's what I did.
Okay.
And it's from up just north of, or west of St. Regis, about a mile, and it's acceptable material. So we went through that process. Everything else is in this package. And the only reason I didn't put the dirt in it is because if I just put the dirt in it, general contractor, they're not gonna look for a deal. They're gonna go find somebody that's gonna sell them dirt for $25 a cubic yard. I will go broke, and we will not do this work, because it'll throw us over the top. So for us to take the time and go procure it for $1 a yard as opposed to, 15 or 20, that's why I did it. Because I have time to go do it, and I can get a better price. If I just stick it on here, you got all these good items, these guys are just gonna go find somebody and buy it. And of course, there's no quality control in it, so what some people think is dirt is a bunch of rocks and car bodies, and away you go. And so we spend all our time at QA/QC, and no, we don't want the bumper of the '59 Chevy, that's not dirt, and you fight about that. So that's why we do it. But everything else associated with this job is in this bid.
So Joel, how many yards are you looking at in Kansas?
It's just right at 35,000 cubic yards, max, top end, is what it is. And we think, potentially, we haven't looked, but right below your place, Jim, there's that trust meadow there, and there's that streak of tailings that goes through there. We're gonna dig that up, and I'm gonna have a look around there, because if the trust has some dirt, I'm gonna take their dirt before I buy it from somebody else. So we're gonna have a look there too. But 35,000 is what his contract says, is up to 35,000.
Does he just provide the dirt, or does he provide it hauled to the site?
No, the haul to the site is
Will be in this
contractor,
bid?
it's up to the contractor to excavate, load, and haul from that site. So we're gonna pay certainly for that. I imagine about $13 a yard is what they. Oh, yeah. So there we are. That's kind of fast, but that's the deal.
So how long will the contractors have to look the bid over before they have to submit a bid?
3 weeks.
And getting back to that pre-tour, Joe, you think it's usually 2 weeks after it's announced or put on the street? So originally, we had that as the 9th, but right now, if it goes on the street on this Thursday, the 4th, I'm looking at probably around the 18th on my calendar, and it's pre-bid thereabouts.
Something right in there, there'll be time for questions, and we'll answer. Anybody's got any questions, and the questions are all, we'll post them all, the questions and all the answers, then we'll have there will be a walkthrough here for us, so probably right around that date, so.
Right. We might want to make sure people who are interested here in the bid, if, how to communicate with that website or things like that.
Yeah.
Or
So just call me.
or if have people just leave their name if they're interested, name, phone number. If you have an email address, that would be something.
We can do that.
Okay. Would that be okay with folks? If anybody's interested in that package? Okay.
Can you, I know nothing about this, so can you explain to me exactly what you're gonna do? I know you said you're gonna dig this stuff out and you're gonna put down something else. You're gonna dig out what stuff? You're gonna dig out everything that's close to the creek? You're gonna dig, you said you're gonna leave this creek bed. Did I not hear you say
We're
that?
gonna leave the creek bed. What we're gonna do, exactly, is we're gonna come in and we're gonna saw the timber out of it.
All the timber in the creek
Pretty
is
much.
going.
Yeah.
Okay. I have some questions about that.
I know. I have had a lot of questions about that myself. I'm a little unhappy
So
about
that
that.
Flat Creek's gonna end up in Superior? Because.
No, it's not.
Well,
It better not. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remove a bunch of timber out of there. That is very unfortunate. But the way these tailings are, they're in and around all these root wads of these trees. We cannot get that out of there without taking that timber out.
okay, so you're gonna come up, you're gonna cut trees.
We're gonna cut trees, we'll
Then
take
you're gonna
these
pull the stumps out.
eventually. What we will do
Eventually.
initially is we'll saw the trees down.
Mhm.
We'll take the branches, we'll make rows of that are perpendicular to the creek up and down the stream. And we'll come in and we will remove the tailings section at a time and stabilize that and move to the next.
Stabilize that with coconut cloth and.
If I can, we will do that to the extent
What
we
if you
can.
can't?
And we'll leave some of the stumps in there or put them back. But erosion and taking those trees out is the biggest worry I have about this job.
Me too. I have much more worry about that than where the tailings are. I just gotta be honest.
Yeah, I'm pretty worried about it too.
And I live there.
Yeah.
But I'm very worried because just a fire, the fire that we had up above us,
Right.
that made everything just turn to wax, it was so hot. And then when the rains came,
Down it goes.
everything went, the Grand Canyon became part of Flat Creek. It was awful,
Right.
absolutely awful. And I don't understand how this is different.
Well, we're working on to make it different. It's certainly been a pretty hot point of discussion. That is the issue of this job. And we went through and, the thing is, with these contaminants, if I take half those contaminants out of there, I cannot tell you I have reduced the risk to human health by 50%.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. It's either
Exactly.
you're in or you're out. And that's.
And you're still not taking, I heard you say, like your screenshot said, that your choice was do nothing versus nearly completely.
Yeah.
And then your words were taking it all out.
But taking it all out means get everything we practically can get out. Understanding there's no such thing as 100% removal. It's not physically possible.
So then my next question is, so a little bit is okay? What's a little bit? And what is the cutoff? What makes it awful that it has to be done at all? Compared to, well, we're gonna take what we can, we're gonna cut down all your trees, we're gonna leave this vast nothingness. And are you gonna plant trees back again? I mean, I know that's a different question, but
No, and the first thing we'll do is
Concerns
we'll get grasses to grow first.
Start re-veg.
I mean, that has to be,
Grasses,
it has to be
brush.
seeded immediately. We've got to get that going. And then after that, we will hopefully come in and plant some trees. But the grasses hold that thing together before trees really do. Initially, they're just sticks in the ground. So yeah, we'll get that. It is risky but when I say remove everything, basically we will get everything out of there.
okay, so again, my question is health-wise, because that seems to be what has been driving this since
It's
2009,
Yep.
which I thought was crap anyway, but that's just me. But anyway, that's what's been driving this since all that time.
That's correct, yeah.
So what is too much and what is okay? And how did that get decided?
That is a risk question. And what it comes down to is you take these elements and it is a calculated risk. It's calculated. If you go up there and eat the water hemlock, you're going to die in 15 minutes to 2 hours. That one I can calculate pretty easy. You're going to die. Contaminants up there, there is a risk that X% will get cancer related from exposure.
What kind of exposure?
exposure, and that's based
Touch.
on for arsenic,
Touch.
70 years of exposure. That's how risk goes. So the numbers, 1 in 10,000 at, 70 years, et cetera, that's different. Kids, it's no different, it's worse. But the problem is, it's a very small number. It's very hard to calculate. There is a risk, but it's not going to kill you dead. It might not kill you at all. It might not affect you at all, but it could affect somebody. That's how risk works. I tried to get something to make it simple to bring up here, and actually, we tried. We couldn't do it. It's calculated. It's not so much, it's not speculative. It is a human health risk, but the chances of anybody in this room spending their entire life up there and not feeling an effect from it, that's entirely possible.
Basically.
The chances of somebody getting up there and dying from it, that's possible too. Now, lead is a higher risk for children because kids eat dirt. And you eat lead and you're a kid, that is really not very good.
So if you don't eat it, breathe it, or drink it, you're safe?
Should be good to go?
Well,
Then, I guess, the other point I wanted to bring about that is, so when they came in here and they did all that in 2009 and they tested, they came to school and they tested everybody and
Yeah.
that whole thing happened. And it was very interesting to me that our family that has lived there forever
Yeah.
tested some of the lowest. And my son literally lived on that football field in that track, tested one of the very lowest. So I was like, okay, so who made this decision? Who decided that that X amount of whatever is so flippin' awful?
It's not that it's so awful, it is that there's been enough work in the United States that there are risks, they are real, but they're not huge. You're not gonna walk up there and die, but people have died, people do get cancer from this stuff. But yeah,
Get
you're
cancer
right,
from
it's
a lot
not,
of
you
things.
can't have the lowest. There could be a lot of people that have no effects whatsoever for their whole life.
Basically, it's, as Joel's trying to say, it's on a risk. It's on an exposure by your activities up there. Usually it's a 30-year exposure over, say, a certain period of time. I think it's like 45 days a year that you're in that material.
There's a risk when you get on the highway driving.
Sure is.
We don't stop everybody from driving,
That's right.
but the DEQ, I don't know how many employees they employ by doing these Superfund projects, and I think a lot of it's a waste of money.
I've long
The risk
insisted
involved.
that I've asked for the transmission route. How do you ingest rocks? You don't swallow them generally.
No, but
They're
it's-
not held in suspension. They don't go through your skin.
No,
You can't snort them up your nose or through your ears.
It's not the rock, it is the dust that's generated on that rock. For example, if that road that's made out of the tail, ATVs are going through that, generating dust, that dust can be ingested through inhalation. It's like driving your pickup truck on a dusty road. After a while, you inhale it, you're tasting it, it's dust.
That's a
And-
small portion of the road, which could be cleaned up, but that would not necessitate the entire stream bed, or stream bank, beg your pardon. The other part of that is that, and I lost it.
Okay, welcome to my world.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob. Last time, I think, in fact, I mentioned this to the CDC, that, how do you ingest it? And they said, well, it's really basically dangerous, most dangerous, if danger at all, to a child going hand to mouth. And as you know, there aren't any children in the stream, but the last meeting I think we had, they said it was for aquatic health.
Some of it is for aquatic health.
And I came home and told my hunting partner, I said, they're gonna spend $3.5 million to improve aquatic health there. And he says, who's doing that? They're insane.
Okay. So some of this work is happening above our flume.
What's that?
Some of this work is happening above our flume.
The flume, his intake,
Oh,
Like all that road work and a lot of that, because where our flume is, which takes our water,
right,
Right.
your water rights.
yeah, we're not touching that one.
I know you're not, but.
Believe me,
My
we're not
husband was
touching
really clear
that.
about that, he said you were very clear on your stand. But this erosion thing,
Yeah,
so when all hell breaks loose, excuse my French, but when it happens, because it does, we can get 3 inches of rain in no time at all.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
our roof off and that
Sure
happened
enough.
just a year ago, so I know it happens.
well, I do too.
When that happens, who do we call?
Me.
Because everything is gone, including
be
the
calling me.
flume. Okay,
On the project, you'd be calling me.
'cause
So,
I,
I'm
like I
quite
said,
aware
I
well.
cannot
I know whose
impress
phone
upon
rings, it's my
you
phone. So
enough how concerned I am
I-
about all
that's-
this
well,
vegetation leaving.
I'm concerned about it too, and it's my phone that rings. That's the, well, yeah,
So the
now,
buck stops here.
it's right here. Yeah, no, this has been a tough issue for me, tougher than my guys that are up here. Well, it's been a tough one, and we're still going back and forth on. We're not gonna basically clear cut. There are some sections where that stream is so narrow. I was just up there this afternoon looking at it, where that stream is so narrow. Yeah, it's just not, we're just leaving it. It's just so narrow, it's just pointless, it's so steep, so narrow, there's nothing there, and leave that. Yeah.
So you also showed, and I know I'm taking the whole thing, but I
Yeah,
just have a
we're
few
here
questions
for it.
I've been working on.
Go ahead.
I noticed that when you were digging, there was some that you talked about being 3 feet deep, some
Yeah,
was just
right.
inches.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that 3 feet deep, are you talking by any chance lower than the floodplain?
Oh, yeah, but we'll be filling it back up.
With stuff that's not normally there, so, and there's not gonna be any real vegetation, you're gonna have some pretend vegetation trying to grow, I understand that. And I'm not belittling what you're doing, because I'm sure that it works, but I'm just, again, concerned because of the amount of vegetation, it appears to me from your maps that you are taking, that is where this is so deep, is a lot of that vegetation going to? You understand what I'm kind of
Not
trying to
really.
ask? Okay, so you're saying that some of this is 3 feet deep?
Yep.
Okay, and you're taking the vegetation all around it?
Yeah.
So now you're below the floodplain, so again, how do you build that up
We're
and
gonna
make
bring
it
in
stay
fill,
there?
we're gonna bring in that dirt from St. Regis and build it right back there.
Yeah, but water takes anything, I mean, it is so,
Yeah, but it's also in those burrito wraps that, as he showed on his
They have a
diagram,
will protect
it's
that.
basically in a filter.
And the excavate, there's not a lot of deep excavation in this. There are some places where
It is variable.
there's not a lot of deep in those stables.
What's-
and then you come back, where is that?
What's your regulations on, those trees have to be removed? Are they gonna be, directionally fell out of the creek, or some of them gonna go in the creek?
They're not gonna go on the curb.
You hope.
No, it wasn't gonna happen. We've got some specifications in there. The trees that are removed have to be sawed and decked or commercially disposed.
I know, but how are you gonna saw those? Machine or
The
conventional?
contractor will be subbing in the logging. I would expect we'll get somebody local to do it.
Okay, from that walkthrough that we did, it appeared to me that the majority of the trees that were being cut were on the west side of the creek, correct? That there was very little logging or trees on the east side at all.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
The
the steep
majority-
side, yeah.
The majority of them are between the creek
stream
and
and
the
the
road.
road. Yep, that's correct.
There's
yeah.
I don't think there's anything marked on the opposite side at all.
No, because
So
that hillside
everything's
comes right down
towards
like
the
this and
road.
there's nothing
Yeah.
up against it. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's-
Well, he asked about the crossing the creek, but there's
Except
no trees.
when you
or-
get-
There's not hardly anything on that side of the creek. You're right. That's-
except when you get down by our house, that's not the case, because
Yeah, but
the
but-
road is up here, the
Right.
stream is down here,
But
and
that
the trees
stream
are
doesn't-
here.
It's wider in there, so that it's not, the whole zone in there is not contaminated. It's just, well, like that pasture below your place, you could see the corridor, you could walk up in there and that's it. So you don't have to go out there, up the cut bank, up towards your house, to get trees, so.
I logged for 35 years, and some of those trees are leaning out over that creek. They gonna put a cable up in that?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Because if I went out and I had a fallen tree, and it went across the creek, and I had this Forest Service guy come along, I'm gonna be hauled off to jail. That's what I'm asking you, what's your, if they follow.
Obligations, well, it doesn't fall under the Stream Management Act because it's a circle action. So we have to do the very best we can, but we are not bound by those things. Because
That's
the
what I was
nature of this
wondering, are you
action.
bound by the same rules as, okay,
Now, we have to try to do the best we can, but we are not.
okay, that's what I
Well,
was
you
asking.
could grab
Not
your
mine.
filler buncher and
Right.
pull her back.
No, your fellow bunch is gonna end up in the creek, and it's gonna run oil down that creek.
No, no.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're-
what they're saying
it's-
is, do we say, forget the rules? No, we meet the intent of the rules.
Substantive requirement is what
Okay,
the
that's what I was
statute
trying to get
says.
at.
Right.
But we're gonna be all over that thing, because that timber thing is my biggest worry, and it's been making me nuts. The
That
rest of
makes
it,
two of us ever since I heard about it, that's one.
it's the timber thing, and it's erosion, that's my issue, because the rest of it is. That's the issue.
Ma'am, you had a question about.
You said you
Forest
were
Service.
coming back. You said
Yes.
the Forest Service is coming back.
Right. We're looking at this project, as Joe said, it probably will start this year, but the main majority will start next year. 2017. In that time period, I'm also going to look at ways to do the other, what I call the smaller tails deposit, and come up with a design plan to meet those that are on Forest Service administered.
And where exactly in this is that?
I have some diagrams, and if not, I can get you those diagrams, because I bump in the gym all the time. It's entertaining.
And where's your hazmat suit? Come on, this stuff is toxic.
No.
Where's your hazmat
But like I
suit?
said, we do, we're taking out 60%, so it remains another 30%. So there's
So
scattered.
1630 only makes 90, then what happens?
No, 60% is the massive, then the 40%, sorry.
I wasn't picking on you, I was just like, okay, I missed something.
That's all right, no. It's not the new map or the old map, it's my map, which but it is 40% will remain, is, left in the small deposit. And our goal is to go pick those deposits up because they're small, and then replace the bank, stabilize the bank, all through that. My goal is to use a smaller contractor because it is not, not meant, a large contractor who's, makes his money by hauling large quantities of material. We're gonna find that contract suitable. It's more, for a smaller contractor, which I'm hoping will be a local contractor.
Can't you stipulate a local contractor?
We have certain mechanisms to, stimulate local contracts, but, there is certain obligations that I have to be open about. But I'm trying to gear it towards a local contractor because it makes a local contractor who would have the wherewithal, capital, the equipment to go after the smaller
I think that's
deposit.
what upset the community when they did the town cleanup.
That's
There
what
was
I heard.
people capable of doing that work,
Right, and I heard that,
and it was done by someone that rented their equipment and
and
leased it all.
then it didn't even stay in the town. but
That's
stayed
right.
in the
So I
city.
don't want to see that again,
Right.
so that's wrong.
So I have another question.
Sure.
So your eyes lit up like fireworks when they talk about the water that's leaching out, and you're like, we're not touching it,
No, we're not touching it.
If this is so awful that it makes your eyes light up like fireworks, and you're a very knowledgeable man about all these things, and why is it okay to leave it there? Because
It's not okay, I mean, it's bad water, is no good, but my eyes light up because it's a problem that, in my view, when you start trying to deal with water like that, it really is a black hole, and it just sucks up. There's no direct
course of action that I can say if I spend X amount of money, I can clean that up. There's no telling where that goes. When you start dealing with that, there's no end to the money, and there's no guarantee of success at all. And generally, when you deal with water like that, you are dealing with treating it in perpetuity. And that's like forever. And that's why my eyes light up, because I don't like perpetuity. It's not something I can manage.
Does that water get to Flat Creek?
What's that?
Does that water get to Flat Creek?
Oh, sure it does. Eventually, here it goes underground.
Infiltrates into Flat Creek.
It's going in the aquifer, but it's so
And then it's diluted.
minimal amount that it's basically diluted. But that's why I can't deal with it. I have, even if I had $10 million or $20 million, I would still tell you, I could not say I could deal with that for $20 million. Because you don't know. You break into that attic, you got a bunch of rotten phyllite that goes 6,000 feet into that mountain. It's not structurally sound.
That's
5 major faults right within 10 miles of here. These are not little faults, these are continental structures. They're big, they're active, that ground broke up, that probably one cave in after another, going all the way up to what's left of that mine. So to get in there and get without water, you would have to rehab 6,000 feet of a busted up old tunnel. And that alone is more money than they're printing. And no guarantee, in the end, you would get to it. So
It didn't
that's
cost
why
them that
it's-
much when they put that in it.
What's that?
It didn't cost.
It
cost-
didn't. Yeah, no, it probably was pretty cheap.
Depends
You know,
on
so-
inflation, Janet Yellen.
But I don't know
They're
if
saying
timber
it's-
that's
They're
working
not
up in there or
volunteering.
not. I would imagine they have been timbering, because I feel like it's not gonna hold the backs of the fall right out of it.
Yeah.
Even if you plug that portal, water will come
Yeah,
out
it's gonna
from
come out
another
somewhere.
location.
That's right, and that's the
And-
other, that's the other thing about water. That is
And
why
you're
my eyes
sticking
light
your
up.
thumb in
Stop
the
it here,
mountainside
it's
all
coming out
over the
here.
place.
So it's just, it's super black hole with just no end of the money, and that's why I just,
Whose land is that on?
what's that?
Whose land is that?
Oh, that's
That's
on
on
Montana
Pat.
Environmental Trust Group.
Yes, patented. The other thing I want to point out too is the agencies are very scared of what happened last year down in Colorado. We've been told, thou shall not do unless you really know what you're doing.
Eliminates
You want gold key?
Speculation, but why did they ever buy it?
Why did we buy it?
They
The
did.
trust company or,
Oh, the trust, the trust was appointed by the bankruptcy court to see over the reduction liability. They did not buy it.
So
They
who-
were formed.
can you tell me who owns this then?
The trust,
Yeah.
This land up here?
Montana Environmental Trust
Yeah,
Group.
they, from
Who
the.
does that consist of?
Gal in Boston, her name's Cindy Brooks. I got her phone number. It was a trust set up by the bankruptcy court.
Yeah, as part of the bankruptcy, nobody, what do you do with it? So a trust was set up and that land was transferred from the Sarco to the environmental trust.
Along with the funds they have to give us. So eventually, the trust is in business to get rid of their liability. So we do this, their liability goes away. They don't want this property, they'll sell it, I'm sure.
And the lawyers from Asarco are still laughing.
That's
You got
it.
hung with it.
It's a bankruptcy court thing.
And that is, it's a.
Okay, question as far as start times, once project, the steps, how is that gonna work? So you're gonna start this fall
Yep.
in approximately a month? Is that what we're kinda looking at?
You gonna try taking out all the timber off at one time?
Well, that's what we're gonna be talking to the contractor about.
So we'll have a section this fall that will go from approximately the end of the month until middle
Mid-November,
October.
mid-October, end of October, that's when the weather turns around here,
Okay, and then start back up next spring,
probably May, June.
May, June.
Late May, June,
Where are you gonna start?
When?
Where?
top
Right at the
down,
mill?
top down.
How are you gonna get around that
Rock.
rocky road?
Oh, I looked at that today, we'll probably just shoot it.
Gravel it?
You can shoot that point, that corner?
If it's in the way, we'll shoot it.
You gonna let us know before you do that?
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, I think I looked at it, I think, you know, probably the contractor, probably use articulated rock, that's probably a good job. It's in a way and they want you to remove it.
Well, if they wanna put a dump truck up there, they're gonna have to remove it.
So when you said that C word, what was that?
What?
When you said you don't have to follow the exact same, I mean, you have to follow the.
The CERCLA rules.
Circle.
that?
It's
The
super fun. There it is.
Comprehensive Environmental Reclamation Compensation Liability Act. They call it CERCLA, or super fund.
It's super fun.
And that says then that you can get in string bids.
It basically,
It
the
doesn't
goal.
matter if there's nighthawks, it doesn't matter if there's woodpeckers, it
No.
doesn't matter if there's bull trout.
There are issues, okay, there's the human health issue as well as the, what they call the environmental issue. And as Jim, you know, the bugs and bunnies, you know, okay? But, you know, you have to balance those issues out to, you know, to get rid of the risk on human health, which is number one priority, and the risk towards overall environment, which, you know, we need to look at. Carol, you had a question.
Yeah, it was just, a question for Joel, with the concerns on the erosion.
Yeah.
If we're looking at, you know, starting in October or whenever and possibly taking the timber out of there and then going through the winter without being able to do any re-veg, would we be,
Yeah, I
would
think
we
what
be
we're looking
better
at
off
this,
to
this
do
fall,
that next year?
Carol, is we're gonna, and we'll probably get it in there, we gotta do some work on the repository. To
Okay.
get that ready. We could remove that road up there that's made out of contaminants.
Okay.
We could do that and basically stay out of the creek this fall.
This fall and then next, okay, got it, thank you.
Will you be armoring the stream bank too in the locations where the water goes against the bank?
Where it's up against the bank and in rock right now, if there's rock there right now, we're not gonna be removing anything.
But I meant in the future, to protect the area that you've removed above the stream bed, will you be armoring that with rock? No. I mean,
It's dirt right now, and it's fine
Are
right now,
you
so
saying
it's
if
the
the stream
dirt
bank goes away?
yes,
That's what we're talking about, rebuilding that stream bank with
the fill.
the fill.
But what will protect the
wrapping.
fill from the water?
Then after that, as, you know, that's
Vegetation.
what we're looking at, the vegetation, which is normally done right now, is coming back in and stabilizing.
The fabric stabilizes it long enough to get the vegetation to the point where the vegetation is now, and so we're not planning on putting a bunch of armoring rock on the banks.
So, but you say the vegetation, okay, so when I look at the creek and I look at where the tailings are, there's places that there isn't vegetation, but that is solid, I mean, that's why people hauled that stuff. That's why these people in town that have the
Yeah.
tailings, they should have had to haul back themselves because they hauled them here. That's why they hauled them here, is because they were a driveway. You didn't have to pave your driveway, you put tailings in your driveway.
Right.
They did that themselves.
It makes good road material.
Exactly. So that is a, something that holds, because it is, those tailings are tight and they have lots of rocks in there. Those,
Yeah.
they're tight. But when you take that away and you put this other stuff there, that's not gonna be as tight.
Right. No, we think we've got that covered, but yeah, I know what you're saying, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's silt, sand, clay-sized particles that holds together.
Mhm.
That's why I brought it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing grew in those
Yeah,
driveways.
it's more competent than just throwing a bunch of loose dirt on it.
Yep.
Are you gonna sample the river below where the creek hits it? Periodically? I'd be curious to see how much they contaminates the river.
Yeah.
Messing all this.
Yeah, nobody's ever done the river. I know the streams have a lot of water taken out of it.
Did they do that up by Bonner, when they did that reclamation up there?
There was a group that did sample as excavation. And
We talked to, federal laboratory rats on Flat Creek one day, and I says, what's wrong with this creek? He said, nothing, trace amounts mercury.
Oh,
Drink it, he says.
I've been drinking it my whole life. That's what's wrong with me.
So, I don't know.
You're not
Seems to be,
You haven't seen me at night.
what's your good?
I am. I beat.
Well, that's about what I got.
Thank you very much.
Beth?
But I do want your phone number.
I'll give you my phone number.
Yeah, I would like to have it too, Joe.
So, Joel, when's the water line gonna get reconstructed?
What's that?
When is the water line gonna
Probably
get?
when we, not till we get physically.
Right,
down
and that's
there.
probably next year, Tim. And as I say, they're.
We won't
gonna
do
work-
it till we dig the tailings up.
Yeah, they're working top down, so sometimes next year, that's when the water line, I'm thinking it's gonna be after, the peak flow. I've already sent the plan sets over to the water department, so they're aware of what's going on.
Probably a year from about now, a year from next month. It won't wait till we're physically digging that stuff up right there. Is when that will.
But it's going into the roadway, so,
The pipeline,
yeah.
it's tied to the pipeline next to the road.
Next.
At that point where that massive tails is, about halfway in there, the pipeline is running right along the road. And then if you go down.
From the infiltration gallery to where it goes back into the road.
Okay.
Up there is gonna have to go back over into the road, right?
Okay. Where the infiltration is right now, it's on the east side of the stream.
Right.
And it doesn't get back cross over until that massive tails. That's where it goes from the east side over to the west side. There's that rock neck, or that, rock outcrop, where those first tails start. That's where they're gonna intercept the pipeline, put it underneath the stream bank, armor it underneath the stream bank, and then keep it on grade and tie into the pipeline about halfway down.
So it's gonna have old steel, new pipe, and old steel.
That's basically it right now, is with connection.
Is that what's called a French drain?
No.
Okay,
no.
all right, I'm wrong. But what I was saying,
Italian drain.
any trap like that could tend to fill with sediment.
What we're gonna do is cover over that with, a French drain allows water to percolate through that. Basically, we're entombing
Okay.
the pipe in, competent material. So you're not passing water, possibly eroding out that pipe. That's the key, is you don't want that pipe, like they did on the Yellowstone, what was it, 5 years ago? The ice came in,
That's bad.
exposed the pipe got hit, pipe breaks. Even though we're dealing with water, thank God they were dealing with oil, but still, you don't want to intercept that pipe and disrupt that pipe. Get back with you, Tim. There is a lot of wood pipe. You want me to put that water back into the wood pipe?
That's up to Ronnie, she has to make that call.
Okay, just asking.
What do you line the repository with?
It's online.
Oh, it's online?
Yeah, it's
And what makes it better there than where it is now is because there's not water.
It's high and dry. And then what you do is you use the capping as kind of an umbrella so that the water sheds off. The problem with a liner in a repository, a lot of times they work very well, and then they actually work as a bathtub. And then you've got those tails in that, they react with that, and then you've got contaminated water.
So
There's some-
Eventually it will come up.
There are some monitoring wells now there that we put in where the stuff came from town and
Yeah, right. And they were dry.
fine.
Testing of this one.
How far below the repository is the water?
Over 45 feet.
It's called steam.
Is that a problem?
Not high and dry like that, no.
But did they cover it with some?
The key is keep those tails dry, so they don't react. And one of the things with that is zinc is the biggest reactor up there. But zinc, although it's not that, we take zinc, as a supplement, but once again, going back to Jim, it's not good for the bugs and bunnies, mainly the fisheries.
How does that get there?
Thank God we're spending that money for the fish and everything else. I sure do appreciate it.
Well, I'll split it with you, Jim, then we'll be good.
And you know, no, the world would just go on its own merry way.
So that as you leave, I'll just give, open my notebook if you wanna write down your, information, contact information. It's not fancy, just write her down, and I'll make sure that, we get Joel that information.
Sure.
And then we can go forward from there.
You got ours, right? What's that?
You got ours.
Yeah.
So
I do.
the
Actually,
hauling
it's
from
not
St.
long.
Regis isn't gonna be till next spring then?
What's that?
St. Regis dirt isn't gonna haul till next spring?
Probably next spring, yeah. Should be next spring. I don't know why we haul it this spring.
There's really no place to put it, is there?
Yeah, I mean, once, we leave a lot of this stuff up to when we award the contract, and then we really start talking about, to these guys about exactly what they wanna do. We can tell them up front exactly what we want them to do, and every time you tell these guys exactly what you want them to do and when you wanna do it, they'll be happy to do it. They just start putting zeros on there before the decimal mark. That's how it works. So, we leave it up to them and we work it out once they get the contract. So we don't necessarily tell them, we work with them. If we tell them, then we're going to pay for that, because that's how they think of it, so.
I have a
Contractors.
question. Is there gonna be road closures?
There will be in the daytime when the guys are working, the roads will be closed. Folks that live up there got access 24/7. Forest Service will have access anytime they need up there. Anything emergency, of course, has access anytime. But in the daytime, when they're working, the road will have probably articulated rock trucks on it and excavators. It will be closed. We're gonna put some stuff up on top of the head of the canyon, right where that road goes into Pardee Gulch. So the hunters, just gonna say, go down Pardee Gulch. It doesn't take any more time. It's a better road, and don't get all the way to the bottom of that thing and have to turn around. So we're gonna be posting that up there, so we don't get a bunch of people up down at the bottom of that thing and have to turn around. But if it's right there on top, because I drove it a couple weeks ago, it's actually faster to go down Pardee Creek anyway. But that's a good place, so they'll know it there. Even if they don't know what's going on and come in from either side, they get there and just drop down to Pardee Creek, come right down here. So that's what we're planning on doing with that. And hopefully we'll be out of there by hunting season anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. I know it's an effort to come out after dark.
You can go home and then sign it.